Hi everybody, welcome back. My name is Juan. I am just one reader, and today I will be answering the book Postscript 2018 tag. This is a new tag. It was originally created by Adam from Memento Mori, and it consists of 9 questions which are all about reflecting on the reading year of 2018. So reflecting back, looking back, taking a look into everything that happened reading-wise in 2018. The first question has 2 parts. The longest book that you read this year and the book that took you the longest to finish. And I have the same answer for both of these questions. That is, of course, It by Stephen King. This is one of the longest books that I've read in my life, and it is clearly, easily, the longest book that I read in 2018. This gigantic mammoth of a book is in this paperback edition, which, by the way, I don't even know why they bother making these mammoth books into paperback editions in the first place, is 1,500 pages. So it is a brick of a book. I could easily kill a dog or an infant with this thing. It's a freaking weapon. However, I really savored every little moment that I spent reading this book was a very well spent moment. It took me a long time to read this book. I deliberately wanted to take my time with this book. I started reading it and I was reading it pretty fast, pretty quickly, but then it just dawned on me that I wanted to take my time with it and that I just wanted to take it slowly and really savor the flavor of every moment. That was a nice rhyme. I really wanted to really enjoy every single thing that happened in this book, and I didn't want to rush the experience. So reading this book took me around 5 or 6 months. It's a book that was my companion for a big chunk of the year. So yeah, it's a very satisfying read. It's the definition of an epic, sprawling, magical, amazing Stephen King kind of adventure, and yeah, it's probably one of my favorite books of the year. The second question is a book that you read in 2018 that was outside of your comfort zone. And so I wanted to choose one book that was out of my comfort zone that was successful and one that was not successful, because reaching out of your comfort zone is not always successful. It's not always a satisfying or rewarding experience. I mean, the whole idea of trying to get out of your comfort zone is to try new things. And let's face it, sometimes you get something really great out of doing that, and sometimes you just realize that it was not for you. So I just wanted to be honest and say, what was successful, what worked for me, and what didn't. So the one that was really successful was 100 Years of Solitude by Gabriel Garcia Marquez. Or I love how how American people say it, Gabriel Garcia Marquez. Gabriel Garcia Marquez. This book, originally titled Cien Años de Soledad, was a book that I had been dreading to read forever, but at the same time, I had always wanted to read it. It was one of those ambivalently charged books for me. It's a book that you have to read if you are Latin American. It's a book that you have to love. It's a book that you have to treasure as a Latin American. And being a Latin American person myself, I was just feeling guilty that I had never read it. So I was sort of dreading it, but hoping I would like it. And when I started reading it, I realized that this book was going to be out of my comfort zone, but ultimately, I really, really loved it. It's not a book that I will revisit very often or in the near future, but it was a wonderful experience, and I really, really enjoyed it. The one that was not successful at all was William Faulkner's As I Lay Dying. However, I say this with a grain of salt because, or with some caveat, I guess. What I mean is, I think this book was just not right for me at the moment in which I read it. It's a book that I still want to give it a go. I still want to try and understand it better. It's a book that I didn't enjoy reading because I didn't really understand it in the first place, and I was just very frustrated by the experience. However, the rational, curiously driven part of my brain tells me that I just have to admit that I need to give this book another go. I don't know when. I don't know if I'm gonna do it this year or maybe some years later, but I do know that I want to give William Faulkner another go later. Question 3 is, how many books did you reread in 2018? I only read 4 books for the second time. Those are the 3 books in the Lord of the Rings trilogy, The Fellowship of the Ring, The Two Towers, The Return of the King, and the last book in the series of Unfortunate Events by Lemony Snicket. Question 4, what was your favorite reread of 2018? And that is, without a question, The Lord of the Rings trilogy by J.R.R. Tolkien. I adored rereading these books. I actually felt like I was reading them for the first time, considering that I first read them like over 10 years ago, more, like 15 years ago. So it really felt like I was reading these books for the first time, and I just loved them, particularly the first one and the third one. I am now in love with The Lord of the Rings and with Tolkien. Question 5. A book that you read for the first time in 2018 that you look forward to rereading in the future. And that has to be, of course, The Phantom Tollbooth by Norton Juster. This is middle grade fiction at its finest. This is one of my favorite books of life. This is a book that I read for the first time this year, for the first time in forever, and I really felt like that. Like, this is the first time that I am reading a book that I should have read before, and it's a book that I will read for many years to come. It's one of those books that I feel like I should have children just so I could read it to them. Or it makes me want to go back into teaching just so that I could teach this book and give future generations the gift of The Phantom Tollbooth. This is just delightful and so smart and so intelligent and so relevant and deep. Question number 6. Favorite single short story or novella that you read in 2018? So this is a very difficult question because I read some amazing collections of short stories or novellas in 2018. I read some amazing collections, but trying to choose the best one, the best piece of short fiction that I read in 2018 was a little bit harder. However, I came up with the winner, and I do think this is not just the best short story that I read in 2018, it's also one of the best short stories that I remember reading, period. And that is Pastoralia, or Pastoralia, from the short story collection Pastoralia with the same title by George Saunders. George Saunders has quickly become one of my favorite literary icons. This author is just on fire. This guy is on fire. He makes me want to sing. He's so good. And the title novella of Pastoralia is just the definition of what George Saunders excels at. To me, this novella or long short story, I don't know what it is. I think it's a short story, or is it a novella? I don't know. Well, Pastoralia, the title story, is a weird, slightly dystopic version of America and of the world. It's a great depiction of characters and of human conflict and of human relationships. It's a great portrayal of different conflicts between people, like class, I don't know if race is present in here. It probably is. It's about so many different things, but it's on top of everything else. It is an inventive, creative, wildly imaginative ride. It's a roller coaster, and it's incredibly interesting. It was by far my favorite short story or novella that I read this year. Question 7, Mass Appeal. A book that you liked and would recommend to a wide variety of readers. So this is a book that would appeal to a mainstream audience or to a wide variety of people. And I actually copied Adam from Memento Mori. I'm giving the same answer as he gave in his original video, and that is Less by Andrew Sean Greer. I am saying this answer for two reasons. Firstly, because I truly believe that this is a book that I would recommend to pretty much everybody that I know who wants to read a book. I would recommend this. It has everything. It is really, really fun. It's entertaining. It's super sweet and sour and bitter and sad and real and human. It's just wonderful. And the second reason why I chose this is because I wanted to pay tribute or pay homage to Adam himself, because I actually read this book because of Adam in the first place. Adam recommended this book in a tag or in a review or in some video, and he made me want to read it. I already wanted to read it, but he pushed me. He just gave me that kick that I needed to pick the book up, and thank you, Adam. This is just wonderful. However, I wanted to give another answer just because I feel like this was such an unoriginal answer. So I came up with my own answer. So a book that I would recommend to every single person that I know, and I actually have recommended this book to a lot of different people from different walks of life, is The Butcher's Hook by Janet Ellis. This book is very easy to read. It's beautifully written, however, so the language will impress you. It's also a story that is easy to follow, but it's incredibly discomforting and eerily satisfying. It is dark and vicious and twisted, and it appeals to that perverse, dark side of us, that voyeuristic, masochistic, sadistic side that we all have, particularly readers. So yeah, this is a delicacy. It's a delicious treat of a book that everybody will enjoy. Question number 8 is Specialized Appeal. A book that you liked but would be hesitant to recommend to just anyone. So this is a book that is more of a niche kind of book. It's not a book for everybody. So I have two different answers. The first one is Everything is Illuminated by Jonathan Safran Foer. This book can be difficult to get into. It's a book that, because of the structure, the format, the narrative choices, the stylistic choices, it's a book that can be jarring. It's a book that can be really hard. But if you get into it, if you get on board with it, I think this book can really change you, and it can become a milestone in your reading. And it certainly has for me. Really, really loved that one. But it's not for everybody. And my other answer is one of my favorite novels of recent history, The Little Friend by Donna Tartt. This is a really special book for me. It's a book that has a reputation. It's a negative reputation for the most part. Donna Tartt has written some amazing novels that people love, The Secret History and The Goldfinch. And then this one, the one in between, has become kind of her bastard child. It's a book by her, a really renowned popular writer that people don't like. Not always. Some people really like it, but people don't usually like this book, particularly people who have already read either The Goldfinch or The Secret History. This book is very different. This book starts with a mystery, and it's a mystery that is left unsolved. We never get answers. We never get any resolution to the conflict. We never get even anything except the promise of some answer. And it's a book that subverts a lot of things. It's an ambiguous and dark book, and yeah, it's not a book for everybody, especially if you have read Donna Tartt before. You might not like this one, but if you let this book do its thing and you let it cast its spell upon you, this book is also going to change you. This is just a wonderful, wonderful novel with a big capital N. And finally, the last question is question number 9. Reflect on your year as a bookish content creator. So this is kind of my self-evaluation in 2018 as a book content creator. So I'll start with the positives. I think in terms of reading, I was able to read a wider variety of books. I read fiction, I read nonfiction. Among the fiction, I was able to read a good balance of novels, collections of short stories, different formats. I was able to read classics, more classics than before. I was able to read a wide variety of genres. I was able to read books that I had been wanting to read for a very long time that I had been intimidated by, such as 100 Years of Solitude, or The Lord of the Rings, which was a reread, or Jane Eyre, or Everything is Illuminated. A lot of the books that I read in 2018 came from a TBR that I made at the end of 2017, in which I said to myself, you really need to have some more variety in 2018. So you need to be able to have a mix of genres, formats, classics, newer stuff, modern stuff, old stuff, new stuff, formats, fiction, nonfiction. And I think that particular goal was certainly achieved, and I pat myself on the back for that. Good man, Juan, good man. Now, as a positive, I would also say that at least it is my perception that in 2018 I was more able than before, to put myself more out there, to give you guys more of a window into what my life is like, what my personality is like. I feel like I have loosened up and relaxed even more with you guys in front of a camera. I just feel more natural. Finally, the other really big positive, the other big thing I think I have achieved on BookTube in 2018 is including more psychoanalysis into my reviews. That doesn't mean that I am going to psychoanalyze every single book that I read, because psychoanalysis is my job. And so if I start psychoanalyzing or using psychoanalytical tools to make a review or to think about a book, then it would make reading not as fun. I feel like I would not be able to just let myself go and flow with the book as easily. However, I do feel like I've been able to incorporate some of my psychoanalytical knowledge into the book reviews and share it with you guys. Now, in terms of the negative, as something that I would like to improve for 2019 and the following years on BookTube is I still feel like I would like my reviews and my videos overall to be more focused, to be shorter. I feel like sometimes I just ramble on, and I know that sometimes can be entertaining for some people, but I would like my delivery, my communication skills to be sharper, to be finer, to be more crisp. So yeah, that's something that I would like to do, and I still want to branch out even more. I want to have more variety. I want to read more classics. I want to read things that are outside my comfort zone because that has been something that I've started doing more and more, and it has it's had some really good results, some really good results indeed. So yeah, that is something that I would like to keep improving on. And finally, the last question is to tag some people. However, I feel like Adam has already tagged pretty much everybody I know. So I don't know who isn't in this huge list that Adam has put together. I think Chris from Chris Bookish Cauldron is not here. I think everybody's here that I know. I don't know. This is embarrassing. So, yeah, if you by any chance have not been tagged already by Adam, you are now tagged by me. Tagged. So, thanks for watching. That was the book Postscript 2018 tag. Thank you very much for watching. I am Just One Reader, and do the tag. I am looking forward to watching all of your videos.